Hello everybody, this is Judge Kayla Smyth, and I will be judging the Senior English Pleasure. How I'm going to do this is I'm just going to play each video and kind of talk through what I'm expecting to see, what is ideal, and then what I am seeing in comparison to that. I will start by introducing the exhibitor and then and the horse, and then I will just go through each video like that. And then at the end of the video, I will announce my placing. So then, with that being said, you guys will also have to bear with me. If I pronounce your name wrong, I'm so sorry. But with that being said, let's get started. First, I have Christy Fahey with Spottin' Artifacts. So at the walk, I'm looking for a really forward-moving but distinct four-beat gait with a positive attitude, and this horse is exhibiting that. He was okay in his transition. He got a little elevated and over his top line, but he picked it up and went right into the trot. And now he has a really positive expression. He looks like he really loves what he's doing. He's moving with a big stride. He's pretty consistent in this pace. He's really strong over his top line, which is really nice. He has a really distinct two-beat gait, which I really appreciate. I would have liked to see a little bit smoother of a transition there, but he still picked up the canter and is still moving out with a big, long stride, which is really desirable here in a hunter class. He still has a pretty positive expression. I know he's kind of mouthing at the bit right there, but I don't think he's being too offensive. He really has overall pretty good carriage, which I also appreciate seeing. I'd like to see a little bit smoother of a more prompt transition there. Just avoid a few of those trot steps, but nothing super offensive. Right, same thing kind of this way. I'd like to see a little bit smoother of a transition, but he still picks it up and is moving with a big stride. He gets a little bit inconsistent this way, but he's still a really good mover and has really good engagement from his hindquarters. And just has a positive expression. I know he's swishing that tail a little bit, but and ideally he would not be doing that, but he's a good mover and he's moving around. He's pretty soft when he's trotting around here, and he's still really distinct and consistent, and that's really ideal. He gets a little mouthy here, so ideally he'd be a little bit more responsive when asked to back, but still overall a really great ride. Okay. Exhibitor 2 is Courtney Wiedemann with Done Passing Time. So I'm going to do the same thing, kind of just talk through what I'm seeing, what I'm noticing. This horse has a really good forward walk. He's really alert of what's going on. He was smoothing that transition up into the trot. He's really alert in his expression here. He does get a little bit elevated in this top line, so ideally that would be a little bit more level, but it's nothing super offensive. Ideally, he'd also move out with a little bit bigger of a stride, but he's very consistent in his pace, which is um, really nice. And he's distinct and symmetrical in those diagonal pairs. Ideally, he would be a little bit smoother in that transition. He does get a little labored over his top line here as he goes around into the canter, and is a little bit heavier on his front end. But what I really like about this horse is that he is pretty consistent so far. Um, he does get a little bit mouthy at the bit here, but doesn't look like he's resisting. She doesn't have to handle him really all that much, which is nice to see. It was an okay transition. Um, he's really positive in his expression, so I like that. Still a good walk. I really appreciate the positivity in this horse. And that was a bit better of a transition. Still, he gets a little bit elevated over his top line, so ideally I would like to see that just level out. Like here, he's getting more level, more consistent in his carriage, which I appreciate. He's moving out with a longer stride here, and that's really nice to see. She's not handling him, and he's going around pretty well. He's getting a little bit mouthy, but not super resistant. That was a good transition down to the trot. Super bright in his expression. He's still really consistent at the trot. And there was a good halt. He does get a little resistant in this back and is fighting that bit a little bit and doesn't really stay consistent with his head. So ideally that would just be a little bit more just a little bit more willing to the rider's cues there, but overall still a really good ride. Okay, exhibitor 3, we have British Sewn with Steel Zipper. This horse is very level over his top line, and I really appreciate that. Um, it's really flawless in his transitions. He is a bit shorter strided and doesn't have quite the carry under or the reach under that the other horses do, but he's still pretty consistent. And he's very positive in his expression. He's very respectful of the rider and um, is really responsive to her very subtle aids and cues. Um, he at the canter here, he's pretty heavy on his front end and pretty short strided, which in a hunter class we're looking for a mover that can cover some ground. Um, that's what I'm kind of looking for. And while they're going around the canter, that was a very good transition down. Again, I'd really like to see this horse just move out with a little bit bigger of a stride here. Um, I do appreciate that you can picture what this horse is going to look like anywhere. He is very consistent. Um, he's very mindful of the rider. He just lacks that big stride that the other two horses in the class do. Another very good transition down to the trot. Very distinct diagonal pairs, very symmetrical here. Um, very consistent. Pretty good back. He's not super resistant at all. He's very responsive to the rider. This class was kind of hard for me to sort through, just because they're all different in their own way and good and not so great in some other spots. Um, I did have to find our biggest moving horse, though, first, and that is Christy Fahey with Spotting Artifacts. Um, it was just the overall movement and inconsistency. Yes, the horse may have gotten a little unlevel over his top line at times, but he really did move out, which is the biggest stride for me. Um, and was still pretty respectful to the rider. In second place, I'm going to go with Courtney Wiedenman with Done Passing Time. Um, this horse was just really respectful to the rider and consistent when he's going around. He did get a little bit iffy in his transitions, but he had a really good positive attitude and also moved out with a good, consistent, um, big trot when he's going around. And for third, I have British Zone and with Steel Zipper, and this horse was definitely the most consistent and the most responsive to the rider, and had the most subtle aids and cues from the rider. Um, but I had to find him third, as he just didn't have the stride that the other two did. But I do appreciate the smooth transitions and the consistency of this horse. Thank you guys so much for your entries. It was really an honor to be able to judge you guys, and it was fun to be challenged by this class a little bit to sort you guys out. It was not very easy. Um, so I just wanted to say congratulations, you guys, and thank you so much for your entries.